Hello.
Hello, I'm Malcolm Childs.
And I'm James Skiffins.
And this is the Just Making Conversation.
The show where we discuss the rich rollercoaster hobby of model making that we love so much.
From greasy sprues to gloss coats, and everything that is in between. We are going to be just making conversation.
In this episode, the Just Making Conversation will be all about inspiration. What inspires us to build what we build. Let's face it, with any hobby, you have to have a passion for what you're doing, right? A reason for choosing what you make, maybe even why or when you build it. So let's explore our inspirations.
So the first thing on this list, this massive big long list of exciting rollercoaster subjects. James, what inspires you to build what you build?
Is when people share their work. Because there's always something in what someone else does that inspires me or makes me think, oh, I'd like to try that. That's interesting. How did they do that? How did they achieve that effect? So that's definitely one area in which I go looking for.
Is that something you look for, or is that something that just kind of pops out and you go, oh, now suddenly I am inspired?
Sometimes I go looking for something, and sometimes it's something that I could be sitting watching a film, for example, and there's an element of a film that gives me a spark to an idea that then I investigate. So, so give you an example of that would be The Enemy Below with Robert Mitchum, American cruiser that is in a battle with a U-boat, and they chase each other around and try and destroy each other. And one of the final scenes is the U-boat surfaces, and the captain of the destroyer or whatever boat or ship it was rather rams the U-boat, gets caught up on the U-boat itself, and both ships are destroyed. The captain tells everyone to abandon ship, but he spots the captain of the U-boat trying to rescue his friend, and then the captain assists him to save him. But that gave me a lot of inspiration into a build I started to do many years ago, which I've never finished, unfortunately. But from that, I got a phrase that was used when the captain suggests he's going to ram the U-boat. The phrase "an eye for an eye" comes into mind, and I thought that was a really good. Just that little phrase was an inspiration for me, because I'd like to recreate that with a 172nd Corvette and U-boat. So so it could, like I say, it could be a phrase from a film, it could be a scene in a film, it could also be what I mentioned earlier was Facebook. We both look at the Facebook groups and see pictures and say, well, did you see that person's build? And so, other modelers inspire me a great deal. How about you?
I think you're right. Yeah, for me, so, inspiration comes from all places. Films, also, like you say, Facebook, going to museums, things like that. Vehicles that I think, oh, I could build one of them. You know, I remember going to Duxford a couple of years ago now, and they have the hangar where they are doing up all the old aircraft, and there was a ferry, I can't remember the name of it, and it's a training aircraft, or was, and they used it in Sweden as training. So it's got lots of holes and bullet holes and things, but the thing's painted bright yellow, rusted to bits, chipping all over it, and it just looked like a perfect weathering subject to build. You know, that it even had a tarpaulin over the top of the cockpit, which means I don't have to build the cockpit. So I was already way ahead, you know. Also, the wings were not part of the aircraft and just laying down the side of the fuselage. So what you really had was you could see the front of the propeller and the engine and the exhaust, and all that was all sorts of different shades of yellow, where they'd repainted it and repainted it and repainted it, and things had chipped off and rusted, and you know they hadn't taken care of it, and it looked amazing. I've got some photographs. I should pop them up so you can see. But it looked like a scale model just by when I was photographing it. Experiments with chipping or something it could have been called, you know. I can't remember. I don't think it was a ferry battle. It's a ferry something. It's not ferry liquid. I'll have to look it up. Enemy Below. So is that something, a diorama that is in your mind that you're going to do something similar with the concept, or is it an idea that you're going to do with boats and submarines?
Well, I'll tell you how this come about. Basically, I bought someone's stash. When I went and picked it up, there were a lot of things within the stash that I didn't really want, but there were a couple of items I really did. One of them was the 172nd Flower Cast Corvette, which was from Matchbox. So an old kit. I just love the Corvette. I got talking to the guy, and we were talking about bits and pieces. And he said to me, he said, "Oh, do you know what? I've got a second kit upstairs." I said, "What do you mean a second kit?" He said, "I've got exactly the same kit upstairs, but it's got a couple of bits missing." So he came down with the other kit, and the bits that were missing were the hull. He said, "Will you be able to use it, honestly?" And I said, I'll be honest, it's just the hull. So worst push comes to shove, I'll scratch build the hull. You know, it really is that simple, right? No. But in my mind's eye, I'm thinking, well, I've got the actual kit, I've got the hull. All I need to do is make a replica of it in some form. Even to the point where I thought I would make the hull and make a mould from the hull, which would give me a second hull. That's not simple enough for me. So what I did is I got some styrofoam, lovingly carved said styrofoam, which was rough. I got very frustrated because I couldn't quite get the whole plates correct. So in a moment of frustration, I emailed Revell, who own the moulds. I got an email from Revell saying, "I'm so interested in what it is you wanted to achieve. You may be glad to know that we're about to relaunch it." And I was like, "Oh, okay, that's great." And within that email, he said to me, "If you can give me the part numbers of what you need for the U-boat." So I emailed him a bit cheekily and said, "Well, I've looked at the instructions and I need part 1, 5, 9, whatever they were. And these are the parts of what I need for the Corvette, which were just the numbers of the hull, literally."
Yeah.
And I heard nothing more for about a month. And about a month later, we sent a parcel.
A mystery parcel.
So the parcel turned up, and inside there was the whole parts for the Corvette. All the front parts I needed for the U-boat, the sections that I needed. What do they call them things that come out of it?
The propellers, funnels, guns, weapons,
torpedoes. Wrote them an email back saying, "I parts received. Thank you very much. What do I owe you?" All we ask is just when you've done it, send some pictures.
Wow, that's amazing. I mean, that is a company run by people who are obviously model makers.
Yeah.
Also, I guess, could get inspired by all sorts of different places, including emails from British strange men. "I've got an idea for a build. I haven't got the bits though. Can you help?" And that obviously stuck in that person's head for a little while. Probably like the very cheek. You believe this guy. And then I guess an internal memo came around and said, "We're going to redo this kit now." And he went, I know.
Just the man.
So once it's complete then, and you take photographs of it, put it on Facebook, put it in a model show, if we're ever allowed to have model shows again, do you think then it would inspire other people in a different way?
It's something in which I always ask myself when I post up my work is I hope that someone somewhere will find an inspiration of a degree or other, whether it be in the finished model or whether it be in a work in progress picture where someone says, "Oh, I like how you did that. How did you achieve that?" Yes, that's always something that's in the back of my mind. But if I'm honest, the main pleasure for me is the fact I've achieved it to a standard that I'm happy with. I hope that someone somewhere says, "I like that." And if it inspires them, great. But if I get, "I like that," that's good enough. You know? How about you with your inspiration?
Getting back into the hobby 5 years ago, 6 years ago, it was a YouTube adventure. Ooh. You know, when you start watching something, oh, if you're interested in this, perhaps you're interested in this.
Uh-huh.
And, and you end up finding out how toasters work, and what you really wanted to find out was the migration of the otter or something, and so completely. Anyway, I ended up watching Scale Model Medic's video on his Millennium Falcon he was doing.
Yes.
And he was talking about the wash, the recesses, and the little channels you get on the back of Falcon. And watching the ink go round all the little bits just by when he touched the brush to the plastic, I thought was awesome. I just loved that mechanism of, what is it, osmosis? When one thing moves to another? Yeah.
Yes.
I thought it was really cool. And and I watched the whole video, and his little Millennium Falcon he was building was just amazing. And I just thought, right, I want that on my wall. I want that on my shelf. I want one of those. How do I get one of those? Can you give me one of those? And I thought, well, the only way that I'm going to do that then is if I go and buy a kit, and if I get an airbrush, and if I learn how to do masking, and if I learn how to do chipping, and if I work out how to make my own ink wash, then I will be able to have a Millennium Falcon of my very own. And it was purely the fact that I wanted the model on my shelf. That's what kind of inspired me back into the hobby. So I went to a model show in Salisbury, Salisbury Model Club's show. Have you ever been there before?
No, I've not been to the Salisbury one, no.
Special for me because it was my first ever model show. I lost my model show virginity at that show. Yeah. I was just thinking, should I edit myself? No. Carry on. It's fine. So yeah, I lost my virginity at that show, and what I saw was a massive amount of different models, scales, genres, types, lots of different kits I'd never even conceived. Machine and Krieger, and I saw Richard Clark's dioramas. He does a really, really well-weathered cars. It just looks like it makes a model, chucks it in a garden, waits 20 years, brings it back in, and then he's done it. But it was amazing. And it opened up my eyes to what was possible. So anyway, while I was there, I spoke to lots of different people about their models and things, looked up online, joined my local model club. I felt that I wanted to build my skills up because I knew the kit that I wanted was the Fine Molds Millennium Falcon. It's the 1/44th scale one, and it's not, it's not big, but it's an expensive kit. Yeah, it's this particular Fine Molds one that I wanted. And I thought, I can't just go buy it and then just splash a load of paint on it and just be done. I had to learn these little skills and things. So I thought, right, what other kits can I get? And then there was, there was Phantoms and there was Typhoons and Lightnings. And it started to remind me of all the times that I went to air shows with my old man. And we'd watch the Lightnings go up and disappear into the sky. Or we'd watch the Phantoms doing a scramble at RAF Falconbury, and off they go, and it would just destroy your eardrums, and you'd feel the power in your chest. I just remember just being young and being, very excited about it. So when I was at the show, I bought a couple of kits to sort of practice on, and I really enjoyed them. Really, really fun. I joined some online forums, sort of got my feelers out of where I like to be and what I like socially, and then I started to make friends, and I've written to John in between since and said, your video inspired me to get back into the hobby. It's done and it looks great, and I'm really happy with it. So it's got weathering on it, it's got all the little details, I've got the inks and everything around there, it's got all chipping on it. I learnt how to do the hairspray technique and the salting technique and the using a sponge with the maskell, when you put that under the paint, they lift it off. That's what I like best, so I used that, and I haven't stopped. That was 7 years ago now, I think.
So when you did that, when you first saw that video, how long did it take you to get to the point where you did the Millennium Falcon?
Oh, that's a good question. It was about 3 years. Now, that's about the amount of time it took to save up also to buy that kit, because it's not cheap.
Yes. Yeah, that's true. It is an expensive kit without a doubt.
It is. My wife bought it for my birthday. We've been saving up for it. It's lovely, and I'm not going to part with it. I just made a base for it, which was the Star Destroyer that the Falcon lands on.
Yeah.
In Return of the Jedi, I think it is. We're going to get letters.
Yes, there's going to be people that are like, no, screaming at this podcast saying, I can't believe you don't know this, Malcolm.
What I'm going to do, James, is I'm going to look it up, and then I'm going to say all 3 films.
And edit the bit out that you want.
Edit the one. So, yeah. So once I did I'm going to do the base, and I was just going to copy exactly how it is in Return of the Jedi, and put it up on the base, and then I framed it as well. And I built like little greeblies and things, and that looks really cool. Looks really happy. I'm really happy with it. It won a competition as well. Abingdon came first in the sci-fi.
I didn't know you were a gold medal winner.
I am. Well, I'm a gold certificate winner. I'm a gold laminated certificate winner.
Oh, well, it's laminated, so that makes it a little bit more important. You know that, right?
Totally. Definitely. Yep, absolutely. At the time, I was really chuffed. And then someone else said, oh, yeah, I saw the sci-fi. There wasn't many entries in there.
Yeah, just to make you feel that little bit better.
That's true. There wasn't.
Well, if it makes you feel better, I've never had an award that's laminated. So, you got one up on me. The award I got was a silver, and it was a photocopied silver.
Photocopied.
I'm not going to name the group that gave me that at all, and I'm very grateful. Don't get me wrong; it's lovely to be recognised in any way, shape, or form. Yeah, but not laminated. Absolutely.
I should put that on my CV, shouldn't I?
Yes.
No, I shouldn't take the piss. It was lovely to get it. It really, really was. And yeah, I mean, in some way, it kind of gave me sort of validation to carry on.
I was introduced to the joys of Hangouts.
Oh yeah.
With a group, and I saw it on the social media and thought, I don't know if I want to do that. I'm not quite sure if that's for me, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, I joined said group. I can't remember what they're called now. Doesn't matter. And it felt very much like I was back in the pub, where people are throwing comments at each other. Most of the time weren't taken seriously, in fairness. It was just me going, oh, no, I feel awkward. But anyway, I sort of dipped in and dipped out of that. And then eventually the thing that really inspired me, the thing that really made me explode with my hobby, got involved with a group build, funny enough. But this was a special group build. This was something that was run by Gilmon Dragon, and it was a 48-hour build on YouTube.
Oh, I see. Okay. Who's that? I'm not familiar with the name.
Gil, Gil Mondragon. Gilbert Mondragon.
You can keep on saying it, but I certainly don't.
Yes, Gilbert. Gilbert.
Do you know? I know. In my life, I know nobody called Gilbert. I would know. I would remember. If you knew a Gilbert, you'd know, right? I don't know a Gilbert.
He put together a 48-hour build. Paul was part of that. Paul Bretland.
Yeah.
I said, "Oh yeah, I'd love to get involved with that. That sounds like a good idea. Who wouldn't want to sit at a desk for 48 hours and make a model?"
Well,
yes. So,
well, some people would.
So I gleefully told my wife that I was all weekend I was gonna sit and make models, and of course she supported me to the hilt and said it was such a wonderful idea, or something along those lines. But I got involved, and the buzz that caused to me personally was amazing. Didn't build anything amazing. All we built was a 1/72 zero. I think that's what I did.
72 zero. Lovely.
So it was a nice, simple, but of course, I was trying to paint it and all that and hoping it would dry, and it was inspirational. And watching what the other people were doing as well was inspirational. But also within that 48 hours, Gilbert had organised some giveaways. So there were lots of giveaways throughout the night. There were lots of amazing gifts going, and basically all you had to do was put a number in the chat, and that was it. That's how you could win the item. But yeah, I buzzed for months on that, absolutely months. But the other major inspiration for me to set me on my course that I'm on now with the YouTube channel, the Facebook group, I wanted to do a YouTube channel, so I started that. That's how Model Officers Mess was born, was purely from that.
I see.
And then, as I was going to say, there was something else that happened around that time as well, was that I was in such a buzz that I'd go into work and I'd annoy everybody at work because I'd be talking about models all day long, which for my manager was a bit annoying. But I later found out he was a secret modeler, so he wasn't that annoyed.
Do you know what? I think everyone's a secret modeler.
Well, he showed some interest, but I think my passion and enthusiasm was a little bit overbearing for him. But then in amongst that, I found that there was a colleague at work who dabbled, shall we say, in model making. He was more a railway enthusiast, I think would be the correct word, his track layout, etc. And then I saw an advert, which was they were looking for people to take part in the Guinness Book of Records. And it was model related.
Right.
So I applied. And I applied for myself and my friend, which entailed going to the Shuttleworth Collection in Biggleswade in the UK, and joining several hundred other people. And it just so happens I have the certificate in my hand.
Oh, well, that's... is it laminated?
No, it's not. Well, no, I haven't had an laminated award. This
we
was
did discuss we did discuss that, didn't we? Sorry, I should have known.
Oh, wow. Do you know what? I didn't realise, actually, that was just 4 years ago by the Brompton Scale Model Club. Yeah.
That's the Brampton Scale Model Club.
Brampton. Did I mispronounce the mention it?
Yes, you got the entire vowel incorrect.
Just one vowel.
Just the one this time. Well, but did that then... Was that as much as of a buzz as your 48-hour build, seeing all the other people that were interested and excited by model making all in one place?
It was a very different experience, actually. It opened my eyes up to just who the type of person is that makes models. And if you ask me, who's the type of person that makes models, James? I would say anyone. Because there was just a complete mix. Male, female, age. Very, very inspiring in many ways.
So building a model kit is not always just about making a model. The inspiration can be found in an event, a book, a film, or even a spoken phrase, a celebration of event, or even an act of remembrance.
By sharing our different ways in which we find inspiration, maybe we've inspired you in your next project, or even to take up the hobby. It's never just about the plastic. You've been listening to Just Making Conversation with James Skiffins
and Malcolm Childs. Let us know what you're just making and what your thoughts are on the conversation on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram, and on our podcast host anchor.com.
We also have a Patreon account, so become a patron of the show.
Just look on social media for Just Making Conversation. Next time, we will be just making conversation about more hot and delicious topics surrounding the model making hobby.